Art is a lonely road, a solitary climb, he said into the microphone, but when you reach the summit, the view is worth every sacrifice. The spotlight was a clean, merciless white, catching the bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. The crowd, a sea of black ties and glittering gowns, erupted in applause. Standing by the bar, someone I barely knew nudged my arm and asked if I wasn't proud. He's earned every bit of this, I said, and took a slow sip of champagne. Xavier and I met in the acrid-smelling darkroom of our university's arts department, two ghosts hovering over trays of developer fluid, watching images bloom into life on paper. We bonded over a shared obsession with forgotten places. Our best memory was a 2-week road trip through the Rust Belt in my beat-up Subaru, surviving on gas station coffee, and the thrill of capturing the haunting beauty of abandoned factories. We're a team, his eye for composition, my knack for finding the human story within the decay. The first red flag was a small one, easily dismissed. A photo essay we'd shot together was published in a campus journal with only his name on it. He was mortified, blaming an editorial mix-up, promising to get it fixed. He was so convincing in his apology, I felt guilty for even feeling a flicker of annoyance. The correction never ran. I let it go. After graduation, we formalized our partnership. X and R Visuals. We landed our first major project, a 6-part documentary series for a new streaming service, StrataStream, about the decline of American manufacturing towns, the very subject of our first road trip. We were ecstatic. We worked out of my cramped second-bedroom turn-edit bay for months. I logged hundreds of hours sifting through footage, color grading until my eyes burned, while Xavier, the charismatic one, handled the client-facing duties. The cracks started as hairline fractures. In meetings, our shared ideas became my vision. Our collaborative breakthroughs were reframed as moments he'd had while I was handling the technical side. I'd rationalize it. He's the salesman, I'm the technician. It's a role division. He's just better with words. But the word "we" was slowly being surgically removed from his vocabulary. The discovery was an accident, a digital slip. I was searching our shared cloud drive for a W-9 form when my search query pulled up a folder he must have saved to the wrong directory. It was titled Solo Pitch V4. My breath caught. Inside was a meticulously crafted proposal, complete with a budget and marketing plan, pitching our series, our footage, our concept, our title, to a rival network, Vantage Docs. It was rebranded as a Xavier Kane solo production. In that same folder was a PDF of a bank statement for an account I didn't recognize, showing deposits that matched expense withdrawals he'd made from our joint account. 17 transfers over 6 months. $82,400. He wasn't just stealing our creative work, he was methodically gutting our company from the inside. The breaking point came at a pre-awards dinner hosted by StrataStream. Our executive, Penelope, was toasting our nomination. He praised our incredible teamwork. Xavier, radiating false humility, shook his head slowly. Honestly, Penelope, it's been a struggle, he said, his voice thick with counterfeit emotion. Carrying the creative weight, managing all the administrative details. Riley is a great assistant, but the vision, the heart, that comes from a place of singular focus. Sometimes you have to cut away the dead weight to let something truly grow. The clinking of silverware around me faded into a dull hum. Dead weight. He said it with such ease, looking right at me with a sad, paternalistic smile. In that moment, the plan began to form. Not a plan for revenge, but for correction. A rebalancing of the scales. As he spoke, he gestured with his left hand, and the light caught the face of a new watch, a Jaeger Coulter, sleek and silver. A watch I knew our business could never afford. It was a perfect, gleaming trophy of his theft, worn right there on his wrist. The next morning, I called Ms. Vance, an intellectual property attorney whose name I found on a forum for independent filmmakers. Her voice was calm, precise, and utterly devoid of sentiment. Retainer was $15,000, nearly all of my personal savings. We met twice a week via Zoom for 2 months, meticulously building the case. It was a tightrope walk. I continued to work alongside Xavier, feigning ignorance, my stomach in knots every time he'd walk into the office while I was on my laptop, secretly downloading server logs and forwarding emails to a private account. One afternoon, he almost caught me taking a screenshot of our shared business account. I toggled my screen to an editing timeline just as he leaned over my shoulder, the smell of his expensive cologne making me sick. Close, he said, pointing at a frame, but not quite perfect. Ms. Vance was a master strategist. The evidence we compiled was irrefutable. 1. Server logs with timestamps showing I had uploaded and edited over 90% of the final footage. 2. A chain of 34 emails from me to Xavier, outlining core narrative concepts he later claimed as his own in the solo pitch deck. 3. The metadata on the solo pitch V4 file itself, proving it was created 4 months before he told me Vantage Docs had approached him out of the blue. 4. The 17 fraudulent wire transfers. 5. A sworn affidavit from our former assistant, Yasmin, confirming I was the primary creative lead on location and in post-production. The final piece was an ironic gift from Xavier's own arrogance. He'd ordered his new watch on Amazon, using our shared Prime account for the free shipping. The email confirmation, with the price and payment source clearly visible, had been sitting in our shared business inbox for weeks, an inbox he never bothered to check. Ms. Vance called it the bow on top. My decoy was simple. I told Xavier I was burned out and wanted to step away. Feigned concern, then quickly agreed to buy me out for a pittance, forcing him to sign a partnership dissolution agreement that crucially reaffirmed the terms of our original contract, the very one he had systematically violated. At the awards reception after his win, I found him holding court with Penelope. I moved through the crowd and stood beside them. Xavier, I just wanted to say congratulations in front of everyone. He smiled, a wide, magnanimous gesture. Thanks, Riley. Glad you could see what real vision looks like. I turned to Penelope, my voice even. Penelope, I'm so glad StraightaStream values originality, which is why you should see the pitch deck Xavier sent to Vantage Docs last April for this exact same series. I held out my tablet, the cover page of Solo Pitch V4 glowing on the screen. Xavier's smile froze. He started to stammer, a frantic string of denials about corporate espionage and stolen ideas. His panic was a rising tide. That's when Ms. Vance stepped forward, a vision in a sharp, dark suit. Xavier Kane, you've been served. She placed a thick legal envelope into his hand. This contains documentation of wire fraud, copyright infringement, and breach of contract. For instance, Exhibit D is the receipt for the watch on your wrist, purchased with embezzled company funds. He looked down at the watch as if it had become a viper. The blood drained from his face, leaving his tan looking like a cheap, painted mask. Penelope didn't say a word. She just stared at him, her expression a mask of cold fury. He looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief, and whispered, "Why? You said it yourself," I replied. "You have to cut away the dead weight." Fallout was immediate and catastrophic for him. The industry blog DocuWire had the story by morning. StraightaStream's legal department voided his contract under a morality clause, stripping his name from the project entirely. Faced with an airtight lawsuit, he settled within a month. The judgment was for $125,000 in damages and assigned all intellectual property rights to me. 6 months later, a colleague sent me a link to his new website. He was advertising his services for corporate headshots and real estate videos. The photo of him on the site was a sad selfie taken in a drab office park. The Jaegerla Coulter was gone. My own life became quiet, and then it became full. StraightaStream renewed the series for a second season, with me as executive producer and sole director. I hired Yasmine as my full-time producer. We work from a bright, airy studio downtown, a space filled with light and collaborative energy. There's no manufactured drama, only the satisfying work of telling stories. A year later, I stood on that same stage, accepting the same award. In my speech, I thanked my team, my crew, my family. Art isn't a lonely road, I said, looking out at the faces in the crowd. It's a shared journey, and I'm just grateful for the people who walked it with me. The view from the summit was finally my own.